Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Sorry I'm late getting anything out today. I just spent a couple hours down in Bristol having to take my Life in the UK test. All the Brits I know who are looking at this test for immigrants coming in the country to remain here permanently, they can't actually pass the test. And I will say, I got hung up for about 3 minutes trying to remember if it was Charles I or James I who was executed during the British Civil War. And I had to completely guess on the questions about rugby. But all of that aside, let's talk about something that just came out in the news this week. Apparently, the FDA finally banned trans fats, and they're giving companies a reasonable amount of time to phase them out and quit putting them in foods. Now, a lot of people are saying, particularly advocates of flexible dieting, that this is an infringement upon people's rights and choices. But let me ask you a question. Do you think regulations of alcohol, tobacco, heroin, cocaine, or even anabolic steroids inside the United States are an infringement of your rights? It's regulating and putting laws upon the ingestion of and the selling of products that may have negative health consequences on people that are not necessary for health or survival. And it's the same thing with the trans fats. Because what it comes down to, the average American doesn't count their macros, they don't count their micros, they don't know what moderation means, and people are giving this stuff to their children and setting them up for health problems. And the thing with trans fats are, you can't tell that they're in your food. They're not banning any given food, they're banning ingredients that we know offer zero health benefits, serve no purpose in the body, and that even when consumed in moderation, and I'm talking a gram a day of trans fats in your diet, is enough to see negative health markers on your blood work. What that means is that if you were to consume an amount of margarine that would fit on my pinky nail every day, and that's the only trans fat you consumed, and you did that for a month, we can see it on your blood work. Your actual health markers on your blood work would decline as a result of that. You would be less healthy for that little tiny dab. So they've given these companies years to sort this out. They've given them years to figure out solutions to this problem. They've determined that the industry can absolutely transition over, and the only reason they're still putting these things in certain products is because it's convenient and because it improves the shelf life of some of these products. They last longer on the shelf because trans fats don't go rancid as easily due to their chemical structure changes. But the negative is the massive impact it's having on the health of the entire population. It is absolutely a cardiovascular risk factor to consume trans fats. They are not banning certain foods. They are not banning the flavor of foods. They are banning a harmful ingredient that not a single dietitian or nutrition researcher anywhere in the world thinks is good for you to consume. We can argue about things like saturated fat and cholesterol. There is some evidence that there can be some health benefits to consuming these things in moderation. That's the difference between not banning something like that we know in moderation, potentially some people could create an argument for it having some health benefits. There is no such argument for trans fats. We could argue with a lot of foods that consumed in moderation and responsibility do not cause harm, but trans fats when consumed in moderation still cause harm. So it's an ingredient that doesn't need to be there, and you should be as upset about them putting it in your food as if they were putting extra arsenic or mercury in your food to give it a longer shelf life. It's the same thing in principle. So I think this is a good thing. It's something they should have done a decade ago. And I don't see it as an infringement of freedoms in any way. I see this as a very positive thing. And hopefully everyone else sees it that way too. And the US is not the first world country to actually do this. All right, guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot first.